Just stand over there and try not to be a distraction. The voice was smooth, polished by years of boardroom presentations and interviews with financial news anchors. It was a voice accustomed to being obeyed without question. Julian Croft, CEO of PlaySafe Inc., gestured vaguely with a gleaming Montblanc pen, his eyes never leaving the face of the investor he was charming. He didn't look at the woman he was addressing. He didn't need to. In his world, people in her position were part of the architecture, functional and silent. Anya held her empty silver tray against her hip and gave a small, almost imperceptible nod. She moved to the designated spot, a recessed alcove between two towering ficus plants, their leaves so glossy they looked artificial. From here she had a perfect view of the entire rooftop dining room, a glass box suspended 40 floors above the city. It was a world of muted clinks of cutlery on porcelain, of hushed, important conversations, and the constant, low hum of money being courted. Her job was simple, to be invisible until she was needed, and even then, to operate with such seamless efficiency that she barely registered. She was a ghost in a crisp white apron over a black uniform, her presence meant to be felt only in the form of a refilled water glass or a cleared plate. Today, the stakes were higher than usual. The luncheon was for a select group of venture capitalists, the kind of men and women who could make or break a company with a single check. And Julian Croft was in his element, a master showman selling them a vision of a future where childhood was safe, sanitized, and profitable. His daughter, Lily, was part of the performance. A small, silent 7-year-old in a pristine white dress, she sat at the head of the long table beside her father, a living, breathing testament to the PlaySafe brand. She was meant to be the human face of their mission, a symbol of the precious lives their products and services were designed to protect. But as Anya watched from her alcove, she saw something else. She saw a little girl drowning in a sea of adult ambition. The adults spoke over her, around her, but never to her. They smiled at her as one might smile at a lovely floral centerpiece before turning back to the real business at hand. Julian would occasionally place a proprietary hand on her shoulder, a gesture that looked paternal from a distance, but up close, was purely for show. Lily didn't fidget or complain. She had learned, it seemed, to be as still and silent as the adults required. She just sat there, clutching a single red crayon in her small hand, her gaze drifting around the room, looking for something, anything, to anchor to. Anya's eyes met the little girl's for a fleeting second. It was a brief, accidental connection, but in that moment, Anya saw the vast loneliness of a child on display. She had seen that look before in other children in other gilded cages. It was the look of someone who knew, on a primal level, that they were an object. The main course was cleared, and dessert was being prepared. Julian was deep in a monologue about market penetration and Q4 projections. He had forgotten his daughter again. Lily slid silently from her chair. No one noticed. The investors were captivated by the numbers Julian was painting in the air. The other servers were busy in the kitchen. Lily padded across the thick, sound-dampening carpet, her white shoes making no impression. She walked past the men in their tailored suits and the women in their severe, expensive dresses. She walked right up to Anya, standing motionless in the shadows of the ficus trees. She stopped and looked up, her expression unreadable. She held up the red crayon. It was worn down to a nub. Anya didn't move, didn't speak. She was trained not to engage with the guests, especially not the children of a man like Julian Croft. Breaking that rule was a quick path to unemployment. But the girl wasn't asking for anything. She was making a statement. With a focused determination that was startling in one so small, Lily reached out and pressed the crayon to the pristine white canvas of Anya's apron. She began to draw. Her strokes were clumsy and hesitant at first, then gained confidence. She drew a lopsided, wobbly heart, filling it in with vigorous, uneven scribbles of red. It was a child's universal symbol for affection, for connection, for I see you. Anya's breath caught in her throat. She could feel the faint pressure of the crayon through the thick cotton, a small point of warmth against her stomach. She should have stopped her. She should have gently stepped back, redirected the child to her father. But she couldn't. The silent, desperate focus in the girl's eyes held her captive. For the first time all day, Lily was doing something that was entirely her own. The drawing was finished. A bright, messy, crimson heart now bloomed on Anya's apron. It was a glaring violation of her uniform, a mark of imperfection in a world that demanded flawless presentation. Lily looked up at her creation, then at Anya, and a tiny, fragile smile touched her lips. It was then, of course, that Julian Croft finally noticed his daughter's absence. His eyes scanned the room, a flicker of irritation crossing his face. His gaze landed on the scene by the plants. "Lily," he said, his voice retaining its smooth charm but now edged with steel. "What are you doing?" He strode over, the investors' attention following him like a spotlight. They saw the CEO, his straying daughter, and the waitress. They saw the crayon heart. Anya braced herself. Croft didn't look at her. He looked at the drawing on her apron. A small, derisive sound, not quite a laugh, escaped his lips. It was a scoff, the sound of something being instantly judged and dismissed as trivial. "Drawing on the help," he said, his tone light, inclusive, inviting the other adults to share in the minor absurdity. "Come on, sweetheart. Let's not make a mess." He took Lily's hand, his grip firm. He glanced at Anya for the first time, his eyes sweeping over her face, the apron, and the crayon mark with an expression of mild annoyance, as if she were a piece of furniture that had been unexpectedly stained. He didn't see a person who had just offered his daughter a moment of silent comfort. He saw a problem, a disruption to the perfect image he was selling. He led Lily back to the table, and the conversation resumed, the incident already forgotten by everyone. Everyone except Anya. She stood in her alcove, the ghost in the machine, and felt the phantom pressure of the crayon on her apron. The messy red heart felt like it was burning through the fabric. It was a brand, a secret message, a stain. It was a choice made by a child and a dismissal made by a man who had everything. She looked across the room at Lily, who was once again still and silent in her chair, the light gone from her eyes. The red crayon lay abandoned on the floor. It was a small act of rebellion, swiftly and effortlessly crushed. Anya stood taller, the silver tray cool against her hand, a silent witness to a kindness rendered invisible. Would you endure this kind of dismissal just to do your job? For now she had no choice. The luncheon wasn't over, and her job was to disappear again. The moment, a small eternity of silent communion between the waitress and the child, shatters. The gears of the luncheon grind back into motion. As Julian Croft guides Lily back to her seat, one of his lieutenants, a man named Marcus with a smile that never reached his eyes, saunters over to Anya. "Looks like you've got an admirer," Marcus says, his voice a low, conspiratorial murmur. He gestures toward the red heart with his chin. "Or a target," he winks, as if they are sharing a clever joke at the expense of a child's whim and a woman's uniform. Anya's face remains a polite, neutral mask, but she feels the sting of his words. He isn't seeing a moment of connection, he's seeing a novelty, a brief and amusing break in the decorum. He's seeing a defaced piece of company property. She gives a non-committal nod and turns to move toward the service corridor, intending to find a damp cloth to erase the mark to become invisible once more. But the room is tight, crowded with self-importance. As she pivots, a guest, engrossed in his phone while walking, bumps into her forcefully. He doesn't apologize, just grunts and continues on his way. The brief, clumsy impact is just enough. The side of his gray suit jacket brushes against her apron, dragging a greasy, crimson smear from the edge of the crayon heart. The pristine, if childish, symbol is now marred. It looks less like a heart and more like a wound. From across the room, Julian Croft sees the smudge. He catches Anya's eye and makes a small, sharp gesture with his hand, a flick of the wrist that says, "See? A mess, just like I said." It's a moment of casual, public confirmation of his earlier judgment. He has been proven right. Distractions lead to messes. Order must be maintained. Would you tolerate this public disregard for a child's simple gesture? The question hangs in the air, unspoken. Anya feels a dozen pairs of eyes glance her way before dismissing her again. She is a fleeting, uninteresting spectacle, a smudged waitress. She finally reaches the relative sanctuary of the service corridor, the clatter and steam of the kitchen a welcome shield. She pulls a clean, damp cloth from a service bin and looks down at the apron. The heart is smudged, the vibrant red now a dirty smear at the edges. It would be easy to scrub it away, to return the apron to its required state of blankness. Her training, Her instinct for survival in these environments screams at her to erase it. A clean uniform is a sign of professionalism. A stained one is a mark of incompetence, an invitation for critique. But as she lifts the cloth, her hand hesitates. Erasing the heart feels like a betrayal, not just of the little girl but of the moment itself, that brief, silent acknowledgement that they were two real people in a room full of polished facades. The smudge doesn't just represent the clumsiness of a guest, it represents the contempt of the world she is standing in. It is the physical manifestation of Marcus's wink and Croft's dismissive glare. It is what they try to turn the moment into. Slowly, she folds the damp cloth and puts it away. She will not clean it. She will wear the smudge. It is no longer just a drawing. It is evidence. Of what, she isn't yet sure. But she knows it matters. She straightens her back, smooths the apron over her legs, and prepares to re-enter the dining room, the messy, imperfect heart now a quiet act of defiance. Before she can step through the door, the event manager, a woman with a perpetually strained expression, intercepts her. "Mr. Croft's assistant just called me," she says, her voice low and sharp. "He wants to make sure you understand the boundaries. Keep your distance from his daughter. He feels you were a distraction we can't afford." The manager's eyes flick down to the stained apron and she sighs. "And for heaven's sake, get a new apron before you go back out there. You look a mess." The words echo Croft's sentiment exactly. Anya simply nods, walking past her toward the locker room. She takes off the apron, but she doesn't discard it. She folds it carefully, the crayon heart facing inward, and places it in her bag. It is hers now. Anya returns to the floor wearing a fresh, sterile white apron, her invisibility restored. The luncheon is nearing its end. Desserts, intricate marvels of spun sugar and chocolate, are served and consumed. Espressos are poured. The hum of conversation grows louder, more self-congratulatory. Julian Croft has them. The funding is all but secured. He is leaning back in his chair, a picture of relaxed power, when a flicker of motion on the large television screen mounted on the far wall catches his eye. The channel is on a 24-hour business news network, the volume muted. But the headline crawling across the bottom of the screen needs no sound to be understood. "Breaking investigative report uncovers safety failures at PlaySafe Inc. daycare facility. Child injured." A single phone screen illuminates, then another, and another. A low murmur ripples through the room, starting at one end of the table and spreading like a virus. The atmosphere of celebratory confidence evaporates, replaced by a tense electric silence. All eyes are on Julian Croft. His smile tightens, a mere facsimile of his earlier ease. He holds up a hand, commanding the room. "Friends, please," he says, his voice a smooth balm over their anxiety. "Let's not be alarmed by tabloid sensationalism. This is a classic smear campaign timed for maximum disruption. Our competitors are desperate." But the investors are no longer looking at him. They're looking at the damning details scrolling across the screen. Systemic negligence, protocols ignored, internal whistleblower. Croft knows he is losing them. He needs to seize control of the narrative, and he needs to do it now. He stands, projecting an aura of unimpeachable authority. "I will not stand for these baseless attacks on our integrity," he declares, his voice ringing with theatrical indignation. "PlaySafe's protocols are the gold standard in the industry. They are flawless." He pauses for effect, letting the word hang in the air. "To prove it, I am announcing an immediate and fully transparent internal audit. We will release the full report to this board and to the public in 1 week. You will see for yourselves that this was nothing more than an isolated incident, a case of human error." It's a brilliant move. He has turned a crisis into an opportunity to demonstrate his strength. He has created a deadline, a ticking clock that focuses all future attention on his promised vindication. The investors seem placated for now. They nod, their expressions shifting from alarm to cautious anticipation. The luncheon wraps up quickly after that. The air of celebration is gone, replaced by a grim sense of purpose. As the guests depart, Anya is clearing plates when she passes the alcove where Croft is speaking quietly but intensely with his lawyer. She cannot help but overhear his final, chilling instruction. "This needs to go away and fast," Croft hisses. "The audit is just for show. We both know where the real cracks are. Find a scapegoat. Someone low-level whose story won't hold up. The cleaning crew, a caterer, a substitute teacher, anyone. Pin the human error on them. Make it stick. Anya freezes for a half-second, her hand hovering over a water glass. A caterer. She is a caterer. She and people like her are the designated fall guys in Croft's world, the disposable parts of the machine designed to be replaced when something breaks. The No Way Back incident isn't just the news report or Croft's public promise. It's this moment. This cold, calculated decision to sacrifice an innocent person to protect his empire. She knows with a terrifying certainty that the system Croft is about to activate is designed to find and crush someone exactly like her. The clock is ticking not just for Croft, but for an unknown, unseen victim, and she is now an unwilling witness. The news of the scandal sends a shockwave of panic through the event staff. The seamless, invisible service of the past 2 hours dissolves into a frantic, clumsy rush to clear the room and reset for the evening's dinner service. In the haste, a young busboy, his hands trembling, loses his grip on a large, heavy tray laden with crystal water glasses. The crash is deafening. It echoes through the now empty dining room, a sharp, violent sound of shattering glass. The busboy stares in horror at the floor, a glittering minefield of razor-sharp shards swimming in a pool of water. The event manager rushes over, her face a mask of fury and stress. "Idiot," she screeches. "Clean this up. Now." The boy, near tears, fumbles for a broom. Staff members scurry around the spill, trying to ignore it, creating more danger as they track water and tiny slivers of glass across the floor. It is a scene of pure chaos, a small disaster born of pressure and inexperience. Anya sets down the stack of plates in her hands. Without a word, she walks over to the scene. She doesn't yell. She doesn't panic. She takes control. First, she takes 2 tall, heavy-based serving stands and places them on either side of the spill, creating an instant, clear barricade. Then she grabs a handful of clean, white linen napkins and lays them down on the floor, forming a dry, safe path around the hazard for the other staff. Her movements are economical, precise, and logical. "David," she says, her voice calm and even, addressing a junior staffer who is standing frozen nearby. "Go to the kitchen. Get the hazard bin with the yellow lid, a pair of thick gloves, and the squeegee mop, not the regular one." David, the same young man who had watched her earlier, just nods, startled into action by her quiet authority. He runs to the kitchen. Anya turns to the terrified busboy. "It's okay," she says softly. "It's just glass. Are your shoes thick-soled?" He nods dumbly. "Good. Stand over there by the wall and don't move." While David is gone, she takes a small dustpan and brush and begins methodically working from the outside of the spill inward, collecting the largest, most dangerous shards of glass. She doesn't sweep haphazardly. She works in a grid pattern, her eyes scanning the floor with an intensity that seems utterly out of place for a waitress. She is managing a crisis zone. David returns with the equipment. Anya puts on the thick rubber gloves, discards the large pieces into the yellow hazard bin, and then uses the broom to collect the smaller fragments. Finally, she uses the industrial squeegee mop to pull the water and the last glittering dust of glass into a single, contained pile, which she expertly sweeps into the pan. Within 3 minutes, the disaster is contained. The floor is clean, dry, and safe. David stares at her, his mouth slightly agape. He saw more than just a cleanup. He saw a process. He saw a system. He saw a quiet, masterful competence that was light years beyond what their frantic manager had displayed. "How did you?" he begins. "Did you used to be a paramedic or something?" Before Anya can answer, the event manager stalks over, her eyes narrowed. She inspects the floor, unable to find fault. She glances at Anya, not with gratitude but with a flicker of suspicion. It's the look of someone who doesn't appreciate having their authority so quietly and efficiently superseded. "Good," the manager says curtly, her voice clipped. "Now get back to serving. We're behind schedule." The small win, the moment of revealed skill, is immediately and deliberately undermined by the very bias that keeps her invisible. David saw it, but the person in charge refused to. Anya simply nods, takes off the gloves, and walks away, her quiet power receding back into the shadows. The workday finally ends. The evening service is a blur of new faces, but the tension from the luncheon lingers in the air like the smell of stale perfume. Anya changes out of her uniform, the clean apron a stark reminder of the other one, the important one, tucked away in her bag. She is about to leave through the service exit when a flicker of movement under a large table in the deserted dining room catches her eye. She pauses, her hand on the door. It's Lily. The little girl is curled into a tight ball in the shadows, her white dress now smudged with dust from the floor. She isn't making a sound, but Anya can see the faint tremor in her small shoulders. She is crying silently. The adults, her father, his assistants, the drivers, have all gone. In the chaos of the unfolding scandal, they have forgotten her, literally forgotten her. Anya's heart aches. She thinks about walking away, about how she was explicitly warned to keep her distance. It would be the safe, smart thing to do, but she can't. She walks over to the table and instead of trying to coax the girl out, she simply sits down on the floor a few feet away, her back against a table leg. She doesn't speak. She just sits, sharing the space, a quiet, unobtrusive presence in the vast, empty room. She takes her bag off her shoulder and places it on the floor beside her. Several minutes pass in silence. Then a small, dusty hand reaches out from under the table and touches her bag. Anya remains still. Lily slowly crawls out from her hiding spot. Her eyes are red-rimmed, her face streaked with tears. She looks at Anya, then at the bag. With a gentle, questioning look, Anya slowly unzips the bag. She takes out the folded apron and lays it on the floor between them. The smudged, wounded red heart faces up. Lily's gaze is fixed on it. She seems to understand the story the smudge tells. She reaches into the tiny pocket of her dress and pulls out the same worn-down red crayon. She leans forward, her brow furrowed in concentration. Inside the messy confines of the heart, just beneath the ugly gray smear, she begins to write. Her letters are shaky, the crayon thick and clumsy in her small hand, but the word is unmistakable. Listen. It is a plea, a command, a secret whispered in crayon. She had tried to connect with a heart and the world had smeared it, so now she was adding the instruction manual. Listen. Lily looks up at Anya, her eyes wide and searching. In that moment, a profound, silent understanding passes between the invisible waitress and the forgotten child. The drawing is no longer a simple gesture of affection. It is a piece of testimony. It's a child's desperate attempt to be heard in a world that only knows how to talk. Anya feels a sudden, fierce wave of protectiveness. This apron, this silly, stained piece of cloth, is now a sacred text, and she is its keeper. This is no longer just about a job or about staying out of trouble. The child has given her a moral obligation. If you were there, would you step closer or stay silent? Anya knows she has already stepped closer. Now she has to figure out what it means to speak. The next day, Anya doesn't go to work. She calls in sick, a rare occurrence that she knows will draw scrutiny, but her mind is elsewhere. She is sitting at her small kitchen table, the apron spread out before her like a map. The word listen seems to pulse with a quiet energy. Listen to what? She thinks back to the overheard conversations, the fragments of corporate jargon she's collected while serving coffee and clearing plates at dozens of play-safe events. Scalable safety solutions, liability mitigation, opt-in compliance frameworks. It was all a language designed to obscure, not to clarify. She remembers seeing a stack of documents left behind after a previous meeting. Among them was a brightly colored, glossy booklet, the Play Safe Daycare Employee Manual. On a hunch, driven by the memory of Croft's order to find a scapegoat, she had slipped one into her bag. It felt wrong at the time, but now it feels like fate. She retrieves the manual and opens it on the table next to the apron. The pages are filled with cheerful photos of smiling children and diverse, happy-looking staff. The text is peppered with inspirational quotes about nurturing young minds. It is a masterpiece of corporate branding. Then she starts to read the sections on safety protocols and incident reporting, and she sees it. The trap. It is a work of cold, calculated genius. The manual outlines a dizzying array of safety procedures. The sunshine safety check, the buddy-up bathroom protocol, the playground peace of mind patrol. Each one is described in meticulous, multi-step detail. On paper, it looks like the most secure childcare system on the planet. Any auditor would be dazzled. But Anya, with her quiet, methodical mind, The same mind that knew how to triage a crisis of shattered glass sees the trap immediately. The protocols are functionally impossible to implement. The sunshine safety check, for instance, requires one staff member to visually inspect, document, and sanitize every single piece of outdoor equipment, a 37-step process, in the 10 minutes before the children are allowed outside. An impossible task for an understaffed daycare. The genius of the trap lay in the final section: incident reporting and staff accountability. The language here is dense, legalistic, and brutally clear. It states that any failure to implement a protocol to the letter constitutes gross negligence on the part of the employee. In the event of an incident, the on-site staff members are held personally and solely liable for any deviation from the written procedures. There it is. The system isn't designed to protect children. It's designed to protect the corporation. It sets employees up for failure and then blames them when that failure inevitably occurs. It gives them a mountain they cannot possibly climb and then punishes them for falling. Julian Croft didn't need to invent a scapegoat. His entire system was a scapegoat factory. The vague, human error he mentioned was, in fact, the predetermined, inevitable outcome of his company's own policies. Anya looks from the cold, legalistic text to the child's desperate, crayoned plea. Listen, Lily wasn't just asking to be heard herself. She was the canary in the coal mine. She was living proof of a system that looked beautiful on paper but was hollow at its core, a system that prioritized the appearance of care over the reality of it. Armed with this terrifying new understanding, Anya knows she cannot stay silent. But who will listen to a waitress? Her first thought is David, the junior staffer who saw her competence. He's young, maybe idealistic enough to be shocked by what she's found. She finds him during his lunch break the next day. She lays it out for him, simply and quietly, showing him the manual and explaining the logistical impossibility of the protocols. She doesn't show him the apron. That is too precious, too dangerous to share yet. David's face grows pale as he listens. He sees it. He understands the cold logic of the trap, but then fear washes over his features. I can't, he says, pushing the manual back toward her. Anya, you don't understand. Croft's legal team, they're sharks. They'd bury me. They'd dig into my student loans, my family, my social media. I'd be labeled a disgruntled employee, a liar. My career would be over before it started. I'm sorry. I just can't get involved. The door slams shut. David is not a villain. He is just another cog in a machine that runs on fear. The system begins to push back in other ways. When she arrives for her shift that evening, the manager pulls her aside. There's been a schedule change, she says, her tone cool and professional. Corporate is tightening security in light of the recent news. From now on, you'll be on probationary shifts, kitchen duty only. No more floor service at executive events. It's a demotion, a punishment, and a warning, all disguised as a bureaucratic reshuffle. We are watching you. You have been flagged. She is being moved away from the places where she could see and hear things. She is being put back in her box. The isolation is profound. In the loud, chaotic heat of the kitchen, she feels more invisible than she ever did on the dining room floor. The other staff, sensing she is in trouble, keep their distance. She is alone, holding a truth that is too heavy to carry, a truth that the world seems determined to smother. That night she goes home, exhausted and demoralized. She takes out the apron and lays it on her bed. The smudged heart, the desperate plea. It seems so fragile, so small against the monolithic power of a corporation like PlaySafe. For a moment, she considers giving up. What would you sacrifice to stay true? She could throw the apron away, serve her probationary shifts in silence, and wait for the storm to pass. It would be the sane choice. But then she thinks of Lily, hiding under the table. She thinks of the unknown employee who is about to have their life ruined to serve Julian Croft's narrative. She touches the rough crayon marks on the cotton. The choice has already been made. She will not be a scapegoat, and she will not let someone else be one either. Her fear does not vanish, but it settles into something harder, colder, a quiet, unshakable vow. The week passes in a blur of anxious silence. Anya works her kitchen shifts, her hands busy with menial tasks, her mind racing. The news is filled with play safe. Julian Croft gives a series of confident, controlled interviews, promising transparency and reiterating his faith in his company's robust safety systems. The narrative is setting like concrete. The public audit is scheduled for Friday at 10 a.m. to be held in the main boardroom at Place Safe Tower and live streamed to the public. It is a carefully orchestrated piece of corporate theater. On Friday morning, Anya does not put on her work uniform. She is not scheduled to work. She showers, the hot water a small comfort, and chooses her outfit with deliberate care. Not a suit, which would feel like a costume. Not a uniform, which would define her. She chooses a simple dark blue dress, a pair of flat shoes, and her worn but clean coat. It is the outfit of a citizen, the outfit of a witness. She takes the apron from its hiding place. It is creased from being folded and refolded. She smooths it out one last time, her fingers tracing the crayon heart, the smudge, the word. This is her entire case. It is fragile and powerful all at once. She folds it neatly and places it in her handbag. Her plan is terrifyingly simple. It is a plan with 1,000 ways to fail. She has no invitation, no press pass, no appointment. She has no status, no title, no voice that this world is conditioned to hear. She is relying on one thing only, the truth, written in the hand of a 7-year-old girl. She takes the bus downtown. The towering glass facade of Place Safe Tower glitters in the morning sun, a monument to the power she is about to confront. The lobby is a vast, marble expanse, filled with people rushing past with an air of purpose. A large screen displays the Place Safe logo and the words, Live Board Meeting and Audit Report, 1000 a.m. Anya walks toward the security desk. Her heart is hammering against her ribs. This is the first hurdle, the one where she is most likely to be stopped, dismissed, and escorted out. The security guard, a large man with a bored expression, looks up. "Help you?" he asks, his tone flat. "I'm here for the board meeting," Anya says, her voice steady, betraying none of her inner turmoil. He looks her up and down, taking in her simple dress, her lack of a briefcase or an expensive handbag. He doesn't see an executive, a lawyer, or a journalist. He sees a civilian, a nobody. He is about to tell her the meeting is private, to direct her to watch the live stream on her phone like everyone else. But at that moment, a swarm of actual journalists, laden with cameras and microphones, rushes through the doors, creating a momentary chaos. The guard is distracted, waving them through impatiently. In that small window of confusion, Anya simply walks past the desk, her expression calm and purposeful as if she belongs there. She doesn't run. She doesn't hesitate. She just walks, and no one stops her. She moves toward the bank of elevators at the far end of the lobby. She sees the one marked for the top floors, the executive floors. She presses the button. The doors slide open with a quiet, expensive sigh. She steps inside, alone. The doors close, encasing her in a silent, mirrored box, and the elevator begins its rapid, silent ascent. She is rising toward the heart of the empire, a single, invisible woman with a child's drawing in her bag. The boardroom is exactly as she imagined, a cavern of polished wood, black leather, and panoramic views of the city. The long, intimidating table is filled with the somber, suited members of the board. At the head of it, standing before a massive screen, is Julian Croft. He is in the final moments of his performance. The live stream is active, indicated by a small red light on a camera in the corner. Croft's face is projected onto the screen behind him, a picture of earnest sincerity. "And so, the findings of this independent audit are clear," he is saying, his voice resonating with conviction. "Our protocols are not only sound, they are exemplary. The unfortunate incident at our Northwood facility was the direct result of a catastrophic failure by a single employee to follow these clear and simple procedures. While our hearts go out to the family, the responsibility lies there. Play Safe system did not fail. He has done it. He has delivered the scapegoat, neatly packaged and ready for public consumption. He has protected the brand." He clicks to the final slide of his presentation, a giant, reassuring Play Safe logo. "Thank you. I'll now take any questions," he says, a faint, triumphant smile playing on his lips. The room is silent. The board members nod gravely. The narrative is sealed. It is at this moment that a side door, a service entrance she noticed on her last day, opens with a soft click. Anya walks into the room. Every head turns. A collective, quiet intake of breath. Security personnel stationed by the wall tense, moving to intercept her. But a woman on the board, the only one who looks intrigued rather than annoyed, holds up a hand. "Let her speak," the woman says, her voice carrying an unexpected authority. The security guards halt. All eyes are on Anya as she walks the long, terrifying distance to the head of the table. The camera, operated by a stunned technician, swivels to follow her. She is now on the live stream. She doesn't look at the board. She looks at Julian Croft. His face has gone rigid, a mask of cold fury and disbelief. "You," his eyes say, "how dare you?" Anya reaches the podium. She doesn't say a word. She opens her handbag and takes out the folded apron. She unfolds it with slow, deliberate movements and lays it on the polished surface of the table, directly in front of Croft. The smudged, childish, crimson heart is a shocking splash of chaos in the sterile order of the room. The camera zooms in. The word, written in a shaky, 7-year-old's hand, is perfectly clear. "Listen." Anya finally lifts her gaze from the apron and looks at the assembled board. Her voice, when she speaks, is not loud, but it is clear and steady, and it cuts through the stunned silence like a shard of glass. "This was written by your daughter, Mr. Croft," she says, her words directed at him but intended for everyone. "On the day of the incident. She gave it to me because she knew that no one was listening. Your system didn't fail. Your system is designed not to listen. A child knew it, and she tried to tell you." A single tear escapes Croft's eye and rolls down his cheek. Julian Croft's face, projected 10 feet high on the screen behind him, drains of all color. The mask of control shatters, replaced by a raw, naked expression of shock and horror. The master showman, the king of the narrative, is speechless. He has been checkmated by a waitress and a red crayon. The boardroom erupts. It is not loud, shouting chaos, but the far more dangerous chaos of whispered, frantic conversations. Board members are on their phones, their faces grim. Investors are demanding answers. The live stream, before it can be cut, has captured the entire damning tableau. The powerful CEO struck dumb, the waitress standing in quiet dignity, and the child's heartbreaking plea on the apron. The story is no longer about a negligent employee. It is about a negligent father, a negligent company, and a culture of willful blindness. Hours later, after the emergency board meeting has been moved to a private, soundproof room, Anya is escorted into a different office. Not an intimidating boardroom, but a smaller, more intimate space with comfortable chairs. 3 board members are waiting for her, including the woman who had allowed her to speak. Croft is not there. They offer her water, coffee. They speak to her in tones of deep, newfound respect, and then they make their offer. "Miss Morales," the woman says, using her last name for the first time. "What you did today was extraordinary. The board is prepared to offer you a settlement, a significant one, enough to ensure you never have to work another day in your life. In return, we ask for your discretion as we navigate this transition." It is hush money, elegantly packaged as a reward. It is the corporation's final, most powerful tool, a checkbook. They want to buy her story, to own it, and to bury it. Anya looks at the 3 serious faces. They are still trying to manage the problem, not solve it. They think she is a threat to be neutralized. They still don't understand what she wants. What does real justice look like here? She thinks of the money. It would change her life, undoubtedly. It is the easy path, the comfortable exit. But it would leave the broken system intact, ready to chew up the next low-level employee, the next unheard child. "Thank you for the offer," Anya says, her voice calm, "but I don't want your money." The board members exchange confused glances. "Then what do you want?" one of the men asks, baffled. "I want you to listen," she says, echoing the word on the apron. "I don't want revenge. I want you to fix what's broken. I want a new safety protocol, a real one, and I want it designed by the people who are actually on the floor with the children every day, the teachers, the aides, the cleaning staff. Not by your lawyers." She leans forward slightly, her intensity holding them rapt. "And I want an independent oversight committee to enforce it. A committee that has parents and frontline staff on it, not just executives. I want a system that listens. That is my price." She has refused vengeance. She has refused wealth. She has asked for something far more difficult and far more valuable, genuine, systemic change. She has put the choice back on them. They can continue to patch the holes in their sinking ship with money, or they can build a new one. Faced with a PR nightmare of unprecedented proportions and a woman who cannot be bought or intimidated, the Play Safe board makes the only choice it can. They capitulate. The fallout is swift and public. Within 48 hours, Julian Croft issues a statement announcing he is stepping down as CEO to focus on his family. The carefully worded press release is seen by everyone for what it is, a forced resignation. The audit he championed is declared void, and a new, truly independent investigation is launched. But the most significant changes happen internally. The board, guided by Anya's demands, announces the formation of the Lily's Listen initiative. It is not just a new name for the old, broken system. It is a complete overhaul. The initiative mandates the creation of a new safety and ethics manual. This time, the writing committee is composed of a dozen people: 4 veteran daycare teachers, 3 parents, 2 pediatric safety experts, a child psychologist, the head of the janitorial union, and Anya Morales, who is offered a position as a paid consultant. The new policy they draft is specific, practical, and enforceable. It replaces impossible, multi-step procedures with simple, clear, and well-resourced safety routines. It establishes mandatory weekly check-ins where frontline staff can report issues without fear of retribution. It creates an anonymous, direct reporting channel to the new Parent and Staff Oversight Committee, completely bypassing the corporate chain of command. The change is real. The document they produce is not glossy or filled with inspirational quotes. It is plain, direct, and focused on one thing only: the well-being of children. The first meeting of the new Oversight Committee is held not in a glass tower, but in the community room of a Play Safe daycare center. The chairs are small, the tables are low to the ground. Anya sits at that table, not in a uniform, but as a respected peer among parents and teachers. The air is not filled with the hum of money, but with the earnest, sometimes messy, conversation of people committed to getting it right. Resistance doesn't vanish overnight. Some executives grumble about the cost and inefficiency of the new rules, but the path has been opened. The first, most difficult steps have been taken. The change has begun. A few weeks later, on a quiet Sunday afternoon, a package arrives for Anya at her small apartment. It's a simple brown cardboard box with no return address, just her name written in neat, elegant handwriting. She opens it carefully. Inside, nestled in tissue paper, is a child's drawing. It's a portrait of Anya, rendered in bright, cheerful colors. She is smiling, and on her head, instead of hair, is a wild, magnificent crown made entirely of red crayon hearts. Beneath the drawing is a folded piece of stationery. The note is not from Lily, but from her mother, a woman Anya had only ever seen from a distance, silent and poised at her husband's side. "Miss Morales, there are no words to properly thank you for what you have done. You gave our daughter a voice when we had forgotten how to hear it. You taught us how to see her again. And in doing so, you gave us a chance to become a family. We will never forget it. I have enclosed this. Lily wanted you to have it." Anya looks back at the drawing, at the joyful, chaotic crown of hearts. It is a gift of pure, uncomplicated gratitude. It is recognition from the one person whose opinion truly mattered. All the news reports, the board meetings, the legal documents, they were just noise. This was the signal. This was her personal healing. The humiliation she felt standing in her stained apron, the isolation, the fear, it all seemed to melt away. Her dignity was never something Julian Croft could take from her, but it had been wounded. Now that wound was healed not by a public victory or financial compensation, but by a quiet, private acknowledgement from a mother and child. She has been seen, not as a waitress, a troublemaker, or a hero, but as someone who listened, someone who wore a crown of hearts. She smiles, a genuine, unburdened smile. She carefully folds the note and the drawing and places them in a small wooden box on her dresser, next to other things she treasures. She has reclaimed her own self-definition. She is not the sum of her job or her struggles. She is the quiet space where a child's voice could finally be heard. Months later, PlaySafe holds a press conference to unveil the first of its newly redesigned daycare centers, built according to the principles of the Lily's Listen initiative. The event is modest, a stark contrast to the lavish, self-congratulatory galas of the Croft era. The new CEO, the woman from the board who had first allowed Anya to speak, stands at a simple wooden podium. Anya is in the small audience, standing near the back, just another face in the crowd. She had been invited to sit on the stage, but she had politely declined. The spotlight is not her place. The CEO's speech is short and direct. She talks about the company's past failures with a candor that is startling. She talks about their new commitments, not in the language of branding, but in the language of promises. This new design, our new safety promise, was not invented in a boardroom, the CEO says, her eyes scanning the crowd. It was inspired by the courage of an employee who reminded us that the most important voices are often the quietest ones. She taught us to pay attention to the details that others overlook, to listen for the whispers in a loud world, and to value the wisdom of the people we once treated as invisible. She does not say Anya's name. She does not point her out. It is a deliberate choice, a profound act of respect for Anya's quiet nature. The recognition is not a spectacle. It is a sincere acknowledgement of competence and impact. It avoids the easy, self-serving narrative of a corporate savior and instead honors the quiet, internal source of the change. Anya feels a hand on her shoulder. She turns. It's a man in a janitor's uniform, one of the maintenance staff for the new facility. He doesn't say anything. He just looks at her and gives a slow, deep nod. It is a gesture of solidarity, of profound respect from one invisible worker to another. In his eyes, she sees the truth of what has happened. A door has been opened. A precedent has been set. One of them had spoken, and the whole building had been forced to listen. The possibility now exists for others. Anya has a final meeting with the Oversight Committee at the newly renovated Play Safe Tower. As she walks through the lobby, the same marble expanse she had crossed in terror months ago, she sees that something has changed. On the main wall, where a massive, arrogant portrait of Julian Croft once hung, there is now a large, beautifully framed display. It is mounted under museum-quality glass, softly lit from above. It is her apron. The white cotton is perfectly preserved. The greasy smudge is still there, a faint gray ghost on the fabric. The messy, lopsided red heart is vibrant, and inside it, the shaky, powerful word, "listen," is the undeniable focal point. The symbolic object has returned, its journey complete. It is no longer a mark of humiliation. It is no longer a piece of secret evidence. It is a founding document. It is a constitution written in crayon. It is a permanent, public testament to the company's fall and its difficult, honest rebirth. A small brass plaque is mounted beneath it. It doesn't mention Anya's name. It simply says, "The day we learned to listen." Did the object's meaning change for you too? For Anya, seeing it there enshrined is a surreal and deeply moving experience. It has been transformed from something intensely personal into something universally understood. It is a story, a warning, and a promise, all at once. She walks over and lightly touches the cool surface of the glass, her fingertips resting over the crayon heart. A small, knowing smile touches her lips. She feels a sense of quiet readiness, a peaceful closure. The battle is over. The echo remains. She turns and walks toward the elevators, ready for whatever comes next. The final scene. A sun-drenched playroom in a new Play Safe center a year later. The room is filled with the happy, chaotic noise of children playing. There are no expensive, high-tech gadgets, but there are plenty of books, blocks, and art supplies. A little boy sits at a small table, concentrating fiercely on a drawing. A caregiver, a young woman trained under the principles of the Lily's Listen initiative, notices his focus. She doesn't watch him from a distance while filling out a checklist. She walks over and crouches down beside him, bringing herself to his level. "That's a beautiful drawing," she says softly. "What are you making?" The little boy looks up, his eyes bright. He points a crayon-stained finger at the center of his page. He has drawn a large, wobbly, bright red heart. "It's for you," he says with the simple, profound seriousness of a child. "It means you're listening." The caregiver smiles, her heart swelling. She understands. The legacy of Anya's stand is not in a framed apron in a corporate lobby. It is here. It is in this small, daily act of validation. It is a new habit of care, a new language being taught and learned, one crayon heart at a time. What small symbol in your life holds a story of justice waiting to be heard? The camera holds on the child's drawing, a near-perfect echo of the one that started it all. Stillness. Dignity. The room and the world inside it has been quietly, fundamentally, and permanently changed.